Jamie Greens, to be followed by George Adam.
Thank you. I left school at 16, which might surprise some people, as I was a studious and capable young man who did well at school, but I really struggled perhaps with the culture for lots of the reasons that I explained in my maiden speech. Instead, I went off to James Watt College in Greenock to study for my hires rather than stay in secondary. It was a bold but controversial choice. In fact, my teachers were quite horrified. I received a lovely email the other day from one Mrs. Mary Henry, or Madame Henri, as we used to call her, my French teacher. And she was absolutely thrilled that I'd been elected to Parliament. And it was moving to hear from her. We all have a story to tell about a special teacher who has helped you along in life, that spotted a spark and nurtured it. I had many such role models, and if I may be so indulgent, I'd like to thank them. However, they were certain I would be distracted by being in college instead of at school. And the reality was quite true. There was a student union, an altogether political place for debate. There were adults in my class, retired folk, business people, unemployed people, curious pensioners, failed school leavers trying again to get the grades they needed for university, and even hobbyist learners. You were treated as an adult, not as a child. Now, why do I mention this? It is largely due to the fact that I fear that funding for student support in Scotland is struggling to keep up with demand. Now, let's have a think about the effect that may have if you're contemplating going to college in Scotland. In terms of budget spend in an academic year, by December 2015, 67% of colleges had already committed to 100% of their bursary spend. Now, you could argue that the funding system is not based on demand, but the availability of cash. Now, the majority of colleges in Scotland have to top up their bursary schemes with additional funds because they do not have enough money to meet student demand. The in-year redistribution is an attempt by the Scottish Funding Council to ensure that money is being allocated in FE where it is needed. Their own figures show that only 43% of colleges had their requests met, leaving a shortfall of £2.4 million. But year after year, the same story unfolds. The SFC is unable to meet demand from colleges, and the requests are unmet. And that means many students in disadvantaged situations are unable to pursue their aspirations. Even Colleges Scotland themselves have said that this has led to a system that has caused inequalities. Over half of all FE students questioned say that they have no idea how much money is coming to them before they start their course. And as a result, 70% of them said that not knowing how much support they would have makes it more difficult to make a decision whether they will even go to college or not. So where would we like to see things go? On the matter of higher education graduate contribution, it is important we have a proper debate on this. Now, I moved on from college and I went to university in 1997 on a no-fee basis. Yet I dropped out 1 year later. Why? Quite simply, I couldn't afford to go to uni. Even if I had been accumulating fees, which I would later pay back once I started earning a decent wage, I would still have found it difficult to stay on. There was no other support available. The cost of living was prohibitive. Housing, travel, food, books, bills. So I'm not ideologically in favour of a graduate contribution scheme because of some political whim. I'm driven by the idea that the money raised would and should be used to help poorer students, as I was, be given the support they need to go to college and university. The latest figures from the SFC show that withdrawal rates for further education are at 25%. In summary, further education students continue to exist in a system in which funding decisions have been a lot more volatile than for the HE students. College learners are often those who are having a second chance at education or who prefer a vocational path in life. They're often the ones who will need the support the most, which is why it is critical that this government listens to the needs of the sector and makes sensible decisions to support these poorer students. We simply must do better.